How do you motivate your kids? This is literally one of the very few things that Louise and I debated as parents throughout our kids growing up, and we always ended up going. Louise and I kind of compartmentalized our lives. You have to have in advance of an argument a decision about who's going to win the argument. I believe if you're going to have a relationship that's going to last over the long haul. So because we run businesses together, anything that has to do with creative content, I have final say on this show. And, you know, if she has an idea and I don't like it, it doesn't make it on the air. If I have an idea and she doesn't like it, I can push it through. Now, she can talk me out of it or into it and vice versa. You know, you make your best argument, but creative content, I have final say. If it has to do with money, though, she has final say. Anything to do with cash, I haven't looked at a checkbook in three or 4 years, so I'm clueless about the money. Well, similarly with our kids, raising our kids, we had deals with our kids, about who has the final say, and the big issues of child rearing, Louise had final say on, and she disagreed with this, bribing your kids. I thought it was a good idea, and I always thought that we should say, if you get an A, or if you get all A's, you get an extra $100 at quarterly or something like that, or you get. You can work for something. And Louise was always of the opinion that, no, there should be, I'm probably characterizing her poorly, so I don't want to do this too much. But basically that success should be its own reward. And that kids need to find intrinsic motivation rather than extrinsic motivation. That by bribing your kids, you are constantly teaching them that they should only do something if somebody else gives them something. And that they need to learn how to do things because they find value in it themselves. And they discover the joy of accomplishment. And I think that, that's how I was raised, by the way that Louise suggested. My parents never paid me anything to do anything. I got an allowance every week, which was fairly, 50 cents, $1, something like that, when I was young. And there were certain jobs associated with that, taking out the trash and mowing the lawn. But it wasn't an absolute quid pro quo. And we did have allowances for our kids, and there were jobs that they had to do. But Newt Gingrich was on our program last week, and he suggested that the solution to the problem of our schools is just plain old simple, flat out. Let's just bribe our kids. Here's what Newt said on our program.
I think that we should maximize learning at the earliest possible age, and we should even be prepared to pay for it. I used to do a program called Earning by Learning, and in the summertime, I would pay children in public housing $2 a book for every book they read. You would be astonished how many poor children are actually willing to earn money at an early age, and who are willing to sit down and read books. And we had one young girl in Villa Rica, Georgia, at 9 years of age, who read 83 books that summer. Now, she would never have had $166 any other way. And it gave her a sense of connecting achievement with reward in a way that frankly got her in trouble when she went back to school, because she could read too well and she was no longer in the regular curriculum.
Yeah, well, it's, Newt's schemes always end up with such incredible good results that it's like, wow, it's overwhelming. But I say that facetiously, but I've over the years come more and more to the opinion that that's a bad idea. But I have a hard time rebutting the response, which is, well, that's how it works for adults. You show up for work, you get a paycheck. And if you prepare yourself with a certain skill set, you get a better paycheck than if you have no skill set at all. And to a certain extent, some of those things are within your choice. And so that's how the world works. Why don't we introduce kids to that at an early age and get them competent at that? And I have not been able to rebut that other than, I would say, Louise's response, which was kids should be kids. They should have a childhood where they're not thinking, okay, is this what do I have to do to earn something, to make something? It's like, is that, and in fact, could it be that, giving, a reward-based system just raises a whole generation of little Koch brothers? Where everything is monetized, everything has a price. The world is no longer alive and magical. Friendships don't matter unless there's money associated with them. And that's my concern about bribing kids and raising kids that way. And it's interesting because over the New York Times today, their Room for Debate column is about this. Should you bribe your kids? And they got one person who says, no, it's a bad idea. Another person says, I'm an unabashed briber of my children. Another one says, let's see, how much is it worth for you to know? Yep, that's pretty much the reason I reject this approach. That's Brian Feller, I think, or Feller. KJ says it offers me a position of power as a parent. Parents are quick to fear bribes. You don't bribe for the small stuff, but you do for the big stuff. And then Bruce says, well, but what happens when the bribee sets the price? And the kids say, no, I'm not going to do it for that. I want more. And now you're suddenly in this negotiation. And, presumably there are some times when this might work and sometimes when it won't. But the one area where, when we were raising our kids, where we explicitly did this and didn't tell them was we knew from our experience running the Salem Children's Village that the biggest influencer of a child when they're growing up is not their parents, it's their peers. And you can't say, I'll give you $5 if you'll hang out with Johnny. But what we did do is the kids that we really didn't want our kids to hang out with, we would never volunteer to take them to the movies together or, take them to the mall together or whatever. And the kids that we did want our kids to hang out with, we went out of our way to make it really easy for that to happen. We were suddenly always available to offer a ride or, you can invite them over tonight. Oh, that other person, Thursday? I'm sorry, Thursday we're busy. My kids are probably hearing this on the radio for the first time. We never told our kids that we were doing this, but I think it worked out pretty well. But is that bribery? I don't know.